Hello, Mechwarriors, and welcome to the Mech Bay, where we fix your mech and fix your game. What's going on, Mechwarriors? I'm your host, Josh, and I've got my co-host with the most, Lord Master Denham, with me today. What's going on, Denham?
Howdy, howdy.
And we are the Mech Bay Podcast, your number one source for all things casual to competitive tabletop BattleTech. And today, we are going to be talking about everyone's favorite soldiers of fortune, the Mercenaries. But we're going to be actually talking about how to build a mercenary company for the tabletop. So pull up your QuickBooks and your HR handbooks, because it's Mech Bay management time. But first, before we even do our coolant flush of news, hobby progress, fan mail, games played, upcoming events, and all that, we have corrections.
That's right. It's my new favorite segment.
The correction section. How do we want to put this? Did we interpret rules wrong, or were rules worded poorly that when we all looked at it, we all interpreted the same thing?
I'm going to say that since it's in the Total Warfare, it's definitely rules worded weirdly. Maybe not poorly, but definitely weirdly.
Yeah, because when I see the words mechanized battle armor, I think battle armor that can be mechanized, that has the ability to, like elementals, Intersphere Standard, something like Marauder battle armor, I do not think of as mechanized battle armor. I know it's X-Mech, which is not the same. Don't look at me like that.
But yes, like mechanized battle armor is a type of unit. It is a unit that can, that can ride like an Omni-Mech or something like that. Not necessarily is riding it right then. But you're right. The rules were trying to interpret it as mechanized battle armor, as in battle armor that is currently riding on an Omni-Mech.
So this is all in relation to our last episode where we talked about hidden units. So you were actually talking with one of the rules team after that episode released, and they said, no, it's meant to be that battle armor that is currently riding a mech, which is, quote, mechanized battle armor, cannot be hidden.
Right, because they wanted to make sure that you couldn't have a mech with battle armor on it and one was hidden and the other was not, which would lead to all kinds of weird rule things. So they threw that in there just to make sure that there was no confusion, which caused confusion.
We solved the confusion by adding more confusion, but different confusion.
Battle armor that are not on mechs can be hidden under normal hidden unit rules. That's okay. What it comes down to.
So let's addendum to that episode and talk about the great ways that battle armor that is not riding a mech can be hidden and used on the table. I know we had talked that it almost felt overpowered if battle armor could be hidden, and there's a few reasons why. And the first one is if it enters your hex.
In the case of infantry, the unit, like the mech that triggers it, can still end up in their hex. But if they take the point blank attack, that is their only action and attack that turn. But if they don't take it and you end up in their hex, then on the attack phase, they can swarm you.
When I think of battle armor that's hidden, I want to put them in woods that people want to jump things into and land.
Right.
The high TMM units, and I'm using a low BV, I want to say tanky, but not like super tanky unit that's just like hiding in a woods. And when that stinger or wasp or spider jumps into that heavy woods to get a high TMM and then a high, target modifier with the woods, so it's normally like +6. That battle armor is just there. It's not going to shoot.
Right, because the point blank shot is not a thing it has to do. It's a thing that you can do. So if a mech is jumping in your hex, you're just like, I choose not to do it. And they land in your hex, and that doesn't cause any problems with stacking. And then when it's your turn to attack, you just say, okay, I'm going to swarm.
Fun problem times. With that is, though, you do have to add that. Well, no, because you can't do physicals.
It's not a swarm attack is during the attack phase.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
That's
considered.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not a point blank. See, this is where it gets weird because
you can't do a swarm as your point blank.
Yes.
That's why you're saying you're not doing the point blank. You're opting out of that. So you are detected. You are, everyone can see you now. You're there. Yes. But since they jumped into your hex, that's not something they can change their mind about. So they land in your hex. That just happens.
So if they enter your hex, you're going for the swarm?
Most likely, yeah. I mean, it's just so vicious. And if they're in your hex, they can't shoot at you anyway, because you can't shoot at a unit at something in your own hex, except unless you're infantry. So they can shoot you. You can't shoot them.
If your infantry jumps into another infantry's hidden unit hex, then it's just infantry on infantry action.
Right. But that's the interesting part about the swarm attack, is that since that happens in the attack phase, you can't even stomp on them. Like, you can't do a physical attack against them, because you can't do a physical. You can't stomp on a unit that's swarming, because that's in the physical attack phase, and the swarm happens during the weapon attack phase.
So let's talk about leg attacks. So if we're not swarming, we're leg attacking. It's only going to do 4 damage, and then chance of critical.
Right, you get that crit chance on the leg, which is fantastic. It can ruin a stinger or a spider or a wasp stay real fast.
Just got to roll that 8 up.
Yep. But here's an interesting thing: you can stack 2 battle armor in the same hex. So when they land in there, you get 2 chances.
I hadn't even considered that, and that's even twice as dirty, because you can only hide 1 mech. Right. You can hide 2 vehicles, but we talked a little bit about that. But 2 battle armor or infantry?
Oh yeah, 2 SRM carriers hidden in the same hex is just going to ruin everybody's day.
Nobody wants to play you anymore.
I know. I've heard that recently. But yes, battle armor can be used to great effect.
So what about shooting? Let's talk about them shooting things. So their point blank shots, I don't think are as effective as like a vehicles or a mechs, but considering the range is going to be 1 or 0, things like SRMs, flamers, machine guns are perfectly viable because they're at their shortest distance.
Right. I mean, you're going to hit, but you have to roll on the cluster tables for all your weapons.
Yeah.
So the cluster table it makes point blank shots not as exciting, because you can hit, but you can hit for very low numbers, and it's not the shock value of an AC-20 or a Clan E or a PPC, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, there definitely are some more assault weighted battle armor where that's like, sure, I only hit with 2 of my mechs. That's still, 6 SRMs and medium lasers. Like, that's worth an actual mech shooting.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing is, for the BV, it's much better.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like 400 to 500 points. You're getting great value out of that. I mean, you can still, like, even if it's SRMs and lasers, you can still cripple a light, fast, jumpy mech. And if not, then you can start taking out their legs.
Now, is there a way we can take advantage of, like, let's say we forward deploy some elementals, some just bog standard elementals. Once they're revealed, let's say we chose not to swarm because they didn't land. We chose to point blank because we were already, revealed. What's our next, couple steps of the plan is? Are we going to just like, okay, we're there, we've got like a scout or 2. Are we deploying them forward as aggressively, or because now we're revealed, are we pulling them back to like join the main force? Or the wild card, are we bringing mechs up faster now to support them?
No, we're not. We're not supporting them at all. They are here to support us. It's again the 2 different ways to deploy. One is you put them into the desirable spots where you think that light mechs that will be easily destroyed by their weapons fire will land, or you put them in places where you think that the enemy's heavier mechs are going to come from, because once they're revealed, you want them to dig into those heavies and assaults, the slower mechs that have heat problems, that you can just swarm over those, the ones that aren't going to jump and shake you off as easily. So instead of taking those long range back shots like you would with a mech with Gauss rifles who's hiding in the rear, you want them hiding in closer to the enemy's territory, but where their heavy mechs will be moving by, because you want them disrupting the enemy's plan. And the best way to do that is to get them to cause their assault mechs to have to deal with it.
Another thing I've thought of is the new Elemental 3s with stealth armor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, even if you're revealed, you still have the stealth armor ability. So just sitting still, you're kind of holding that woods, and they don't want to go in it and pop the camo off at the right time. They have to decide, do I shoot at the mechs or vehicles that are coming at me, or try to clear that woods that could give me an advantage to sit in it?
Right. The worst thing would be is if the elementals were detected with an active probe much further away than they'd be able to do anything, because they still have a jump of 3. So if you detect it at like 6 or more, that's 2 turns before you can even get close to the enemy, and they're either going to ignore it or eliminate it, do heavy damage to it before it gets to them. That'd be the worst case scenario. So you kind of want to try and find a way to avoid that. Elementals are a little bit easier because they're only level 1, and you need line of sight for an active probe to find them. So if they're adjacent to a level 1, you might be in range of the active probe, but you don't have line of sight, so they're still hidden, and then they can pop out and surprise you. So they do have their advantages there. But once they are detected, they are slow, so you do have to deal with that.
Yeah, I would just, if they get revealed, they're pretty much dead at that point.
I just make a beeline towards the heaviest enemy mech. Whether or not they make it there, they're going to cause distractions. They're going to force them to deal with that. And if they don't, yay for me.
Yeah. And we kind of touched on this with regular foot infantry, but hidden battle armor, great for spotting for indirect fire, because they can forward deploy. If they get spotted, and you're down, maybe 5% of your total list PV. Do you have any closing thoughts on using mechanized battle armor for?
Oh, I'm glad that I haven't been using it as a hidden unit in error, but I think mostly it follows along the lines of most of the other tactics and logic that we've been doing. So just try and use your common sense, and you'll find some fun ways to do it.
Yeah. Too long, don't listen. They're cheaper, so they're even better at hidden uniting, and they can swarm, which is probably the key thing. So those are the key things to remember for battle armor. All right, now for some hobby news. We have new shirts available. So these are the shirts that are for the Kickstarter, but not being released with the Kickstarter.
When you say we, you don't mean the Mech Bay.
Yeah.
You mean Catalyst.
Yeah. So these are the Hansen's Rough Riders and the Rasselhog Dominion t-shirts.
I'm actually looking at that Rasselhog Dominion. I may pick that one up.
I don't know. I don't know if I could wear the bear to like work or something.
I work from home mostly, so it doesn't matter for me.
Good for you.
That's right.
I think that's our big, product news. I think that's the only thing.
The Grey Death should be coming out very shortly at Barnes & Noble. I mean, obviously it hasn't been announced. I just know that it was supposed to be coming out relatively soon compared to everything else. So, who knows? By the time this podcast comes out, maybe it'll be there. Maybe it won't.
Man, I hope so. What does the Grey Death one have? That has the Regent and the...
Yep, it's got the Regent, which is the cool one. It's got the jumping ShadowHawk, and which obviously I'm excited about. And it has the official K2 variant of the Catapult.
That's right. That's the one. But in Alpha Strike news, we had the June FAQ pre-release come out, so everyone's digging through that right now. And there's a lot. This one probably is the largest FAQ. I want to say this is FAQ, but more errata.
Yes, it's more errata. It's probably the biggest thing that's happened to mechanized infantry since the rule that stated you cannot mount them and dismount them in the same turn.
Yeah. So we're still digesting that, but I know there's one or two key things, and you've been, I think, read more of that, Denham.
Right. The big one that I was concerned about is now when you dismount or disembark infantry, they get half of their movement, and their TMM for that. So if you are mechanized battle armor and you're riding an Omni, and the Omni stops its movement and then deploys, you can jump 3 inches and you still get your TMM for that.
Can you walk instead of jump if you don't have jumping?
Oh, yeah. You walk if you don't have jump. Yes, that is true.
And if you're not an Omni, like let's say you're good old Inner Sphere and you have that hover transport moves, you can dismount and the units inside can move half their movement.
Yes.
That's pretty good. I like that.
Oh, it's great because you can get into those woods for cover. If your hover transport can't get into woods, you can dismount and then move half your movement into the woods. You can do all sorts of things.
I worry about the very fast units with very fast battle armor, though.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a problem. This is one of those things that definitely needs to be play tested if it has not already. With the extreme situations and the the outliers.
The outliers. Those are the ones we always worry about.
That's right.
But that'll be fun. Like I said, we're still digging through that, so there might be more to come out.
Well, the problem is that we got this thing, but we're all distracted because everyone's getting backer kit emails.
Yeah.
So everyone's digging through that. I can't give a full report because I'm still digging through it myself.
So let's talk about the backer kit because, we paid all that money last month for the BattleTech Kickstarter. And now they're like, what do you want from that money? And I'm like, I want everything. Don't you know this by now?
And they're like, great, give us more money. I'm like, but I gave you a lot of money.
So how's the backer kit going on your end?
There have been some questions. I've had to message them, but I got a response very quickly, and they were able to fix any of the issues that I had. For example, I want all of the plushies. I just want all of them. So during the pledge, because I've got the two urban mechs, so I pledged for 6 more of the plushies. Well, apparently, one of the options they added in but didn't tell me about before was a pack of all of them. And it's pretty much cheaper than getting them all individually.
I would hope so.
Yeah. So I had to tell them, look, I put down 6 of these. I only need 1 because the pack of 8 counts as 1 selection. So I had them remove a bunch of the plushie options. Stuff like that.
So you're trimming yours to make it more efficient, less clicks.
Well, I mean, except for every one of my pledges was basically $30 locked in.
Yeah.
So I had to get them to remove that and then not refund me, but
credit you.
Credit me so that money could be reallocated somewhere else. Towards the multi-pack of all 8 of them.
Yeah.
Right. So it all kind of came out the same. But I needed them to get rid of those extra 5 plushie selections that I had already made.
Because you were in that first 5% of backers, so you were the guinea pig.
I was the guinea pig, and we definitely messaged them a lot about little things like that.
We definitely guinea'd the pigs.
Yes, that's right.
I still just got mine, and it's a lot. I definitely wish there were pictures.
Pictures would be nice. You do have a minimum of 30 days, probably longer. And at the end of all of this, they will be reopening up again just for all the little changes.
So no rush, be patient kind of thing.
Yes.
All right. Any other news? Or are we ready to move on?
Yeah, no, I think we're ready to go on to the next section.
All right. Hobby progress. Denham, what have you gotten done since the last episode?
Honestly, not a whole lot of hobby progress. I've kind of organized. I've cleaned up my area, which I guess is important because I'm basically finding all of my empty paint jars and replacing them with full ones. Cleaning things up a bit just so my station is a bit more organized. My office has gotten way too messy. So I'm going to say that cleaning counts as hobby progress.
It does. Organization is the cornerstone of hobby progress.
How about you? You got anything?
Nothing. Oh. Nothing at all. I looked at models and I I've spent most of my time looking at buying stuff because the problem is with the Kickstarter, I didn't get anything. Like I got digital rewards, and that's fine. But I'm a physical product person at heart.
I was going to say backer kit should count as hobby progress.
It should, but I haven't even finished that. I looked at it and I was like, oh, this is too much for me to mentally handle right now. Let's go back to looking at Hollander 3s online.
Why not?
Why not? So yeah, I've gotten nothing done. I've moved stuff around on my table and just waiting for that hobby inspiration to kind of hit me. I guess I technically did a trade. I traded some Warhammer 40k stuff for one of my, friend's Capellan army that he hasn't painted or primed. So I'm getting Capellan mechs like Agroterras and, metal longbows.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'll be putting those to use whenever we meet and we actually trade. So
nice.
But I didn't spend money on that. That's the problem. Hobby progress. You either have to paint it or spend money, and I haven't done either.
Well, you spent plastic on plastic, or not plastic, but you spent models for models. It's
That's barter.
Yeah, barter counts.
No,
barter counts.
Barter does not count.
Fine, barter counts for me.
Okay. But for my lack of hobby progress, I have gotten some games played in. You've gotten
good.
Some game played. So
I absolutely have.
Yeah. So why don't you roll out with, who came down to good old, Raleigh, North Carolina to play with?
That's right. Well, Jason Hansa was on his way down to Fayetteville, and on his way, he decided to stop by Hangar 18 and see if anyone wanted a game or three. And we did. We played for many hours that day.
Too many hours? That's too many hours.
I don't know. I mean, I had to leave early to go do some family stuff, but I enjoyed my time there. We had some good games. We had a nice lunch. So yeah, Jason brought his Jingao. He brought two of them and some Marauder battle armor. And that was it. Like just those two mechs and those two squads of battle armor was 7,500 BV. Those were monsters. One of them was a standard one, which we've seen, and the other one, I almost accused him of being a custom mech, but it turns out that it pretty much wasn't, because it was featured in Shrapnel number 12. It's a beast. It just happens to have also been designed by Jason Hansa. So was it custom? Yes, but it's also canon. So it's very legal for any and all of our games. It was terrifying. It has armored hips, armored gyro, armored cockpit. It has a supercharger. It has TSM. It's just a beast. It was very frightening.
Is this like the equivalent of like that Ron Swanson meme where, do you have a permit for this? And he's like, here you go. And it's like, I can do what I want. Like, I feel like that's literally, hey, I want to take this mech and make it as strong or cool as I want. And it's like, okay, but we don't do custom mechs. I put it in a book. Fine.
Yeah. I mean, if I were an author for BattleTech, I would 100% make my very own ShadowHawk variant and make it canon. I would do that.
I know. And I think less of you, but I wouldn't expect anything different.
No, I 100% would. I do it proudly. I'm not saying I'd get a tattoo of it on my like on me or anything, but I would 100% make my own variant and get it published.
Oh, I mean, we all deep down,
right?
Look in the mirror and it's like, yeah, we all want to.
Speaking of ShadowHawks, though, one of the first at turn 3, he moved one of his Jingaos into a bad position. Well, what I considered like a tempting position, and I jumped my ShadowHawk in there to punish that, and it was a trap because his other one had 9 heat, activated TSM, activated supercharger, ran 12 across the map, and both of them kicked that ShadowHawk in the leg, and they both hit the left leg. One of them for 13 points of damage, and the other one for 26 points of damage. So that was 10 more points than that ShadowHawk's leg could handle. And now I've got a 587 ShadowHawk that can't jump, can't stand. It was frightening. It was very scary.
Is this like the tactic for just Capellan mechs in general? Like nobody knows what they are, and then they whip out like crazy TS and weaponry, and they're like, "Hey."
It was frightening. It was so frightening. Now, unfortunately,
I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me.
Exactly. Unfortunately for Jason, he only had the 2 mechs and the 2 battle armor, and I did have a lance of 4 mechs. So even though his were very scary, I was able to focus fire down the really scary one, his custom baby, which left the other one slightly damaged, but all I had left was a spider, a 30-ton spider. So he had his back stripped earlier from when the spider had jumped behind him. So his center torso rear was stripped, and the only other real damage he had taken was the armor on his left leg was pretty much gone. But this guy knows how to play, and he was playing it really well. And he made sure that A, never had a back shot again on the spider ever, and B, I was never able to jump into the left arc, where if I had kicked, it would be an automatic left leg kick. So at best, it was a 50-50 chance on that leg. He never let me get into that position. However, one of those times, to prevent me from doing that, he did park himself next to some level 1 water. And as we know from one of our previous podcasts, pushing is fun.
Do it.
So I needed a 7 to push, but during the shooting phase, he mangled that spider's arm. He hit it for 4 crits, and the spider doesn't have anything in there, so it's shoulder, upper arm, lower arm, hand. All of them were mangled. So he has this mangled stump, which surprisingly only adds a +2 to your push. bumped it up to a 9, and I managed to roll a 10. So he slid into the water. He had no armor on his left leg, so that flooded, which made him fall.
Breach alert.
He has no armor on his center torso rear, so it breached, flooded, and that ended his mech. But there was no, all I had to do was lose initiative that turn, and it would have been over for me. So it was, it came down to that one initiative roll, and of course the one push roll. So it was intense. It was exciting. It was amazing. It was one of the closest and most fun games I have played in a long, long time.
Man, that sounds awesome. Now, but
I'm
super glad you played him instead of me, because
it was scary. It was so scary.
But can you say you beat him, or do we say the map beat Jason Hansa?
Well, being that he was playing me on my favorite map that I have played that lance on, I had the home field advantage for sure. I wouldn't say did I win that battle? Yes. Did I beat Jason? I don't know if I can say that, because the damage, all I had was a heavily damaged spider at the end of that fight. He didn't have anything moving around, and I had most of a spider. Sure, I win, but at what cost? It was so devastating.
The cost of a ShadowHawk's left leg.
Oh, when the ShadowHawk went down, his Marauder battle armor went after that, while the rest of his mechs went after the rest of my guys. He took off 7 limbs in that game of my forces.
Oh my
7.
God.
Yes. My ShadowHawk beat himself unconscious destroying the Marauder battle armor. The last thing he did was use his plasma rifle to fry the last one. Tried to stand up, needed a 9, fell down, knocked himself unconscious. The catapult had 1 leg. He had no arms, and he was missing his left leg. The rifleman had no arms, and the spider had a mangled right arm, and so much damage everywhere else. It was bad. I don't know if I was running an actual mercenary unit, if I could have survived that because of the repair costs alone. So it was close. It was close. But I won. How about you? How was your game? You played Michael Bryant?
Yes. Also known as Ghost Rider on the MechBay Discord. He drove in all the way from Charlotte. So it was just meetup day. Meetups and games.
I like it.
And we played our game of Classic, and he took a Mad Cat and a Grendel and some Elementals. This was like his first time running Elementals, and I was like, okay. I had only brought things I'd painted for this day, so I was like, okay, and okay, we're doing clan, and I looked through my sheets, and I only had like half of my sheets, and I was like, all right, so we got 5 sheets to pick from. I was like, okay, you're getting the Triskelion tripod, Piranha 5, and a Hammerhead. And it was like, that's fine.
Piranha, isn't that basically an anti-infantry mech?
It is, with, 12 machine guns, 2 improved heavy medium lasers, and, supercharger, quote unquote, for, that 9 or 7. Oh, God, it moves 18.
Yeah, poor elementals.
No poor elementals here.
I know they're all gone because of the Piranha. Actually, I don't know how this battle went at all. How did this battle go?
Yeah, you were too busy fighting for your
life. I have no idea. I was right next to you. I have no idea what happened at your table at all. Zero. I was that focused on my fight. It was so close. It was like chess between grandmasters over here at my table. No idea what was going on anywhere else in the world.
It was a good game. Michael's mechs, I've seen them before, and they look even more beautiful in person. Like, I was like almost offended by how crisp that green on his Mad Cat looked, and I was like, oh yeah, no, now I'm glad I'm taking out my pretty, tripod and Hammerhead. I was like, this is my best painted stuff, so but it was good. It was real good. He played a little cagey with the Timberwolf, going up to that heavy woods, that first good sniping point, because this was on the heavily wooded battle mat, and there's a lot of places to hide to not get shot. And I was like, okay, I've only got so many turns because the Grendel's got the elementals on it and he's jumping, and I'm like, you just can't hit that if it's jumping.
Right. 711-7 as a battle armor transport, it's perfect.
My first opening shot was to supercharge the Piranha as close to the Grendel as can. Tried shooting, missed. He essentially took out an arm on that, with the lucky Timberwolf ER large, and I was like, okay, we lost an arm, not the worst. But turn 2, but the next turn, the Piranha's in the back of that Timberwolf who's just sitting up on the hill, and I was like, ooh, nothing personal there, Timberwolf. I hope you like machine guns. That Piranha rolled so many left torsos with machine gun, I felt bad. I was just like, oh, left torso rear, left torso rear, left torso rear, please stop, left torso rear. Oh God, it's just only turn 3. Calm down, Piranha. I think in that turn, I critted out the LRM-20. I was like, okay, I accept critting out an LRM-20. I don't want to destroy the mech, that early.
So not the ammo, just the box itself.
Just the launchers. I accept that. By then, the Triskelions gotten up into the middle range to start brawling the Grendel. Hammerhead's going around for the flank, and the Piranha's just running interference. His Grendel jumps down into some woods, and his Grendel jumps behind the Triskelion because he won initiative, and I was like, I'm not moving. I'm good. I accept this, because guess what? Triskelion's a tripod. I got 360 arc, baby.
Yep, that turret thing. He's still attacking your rear armor, but you can bring all your weapons to bear on him. So
yeah, and at this point, because I've never used the Triskelion in Classic, it was right then and there that I fell in love with the Triskelion for Classic, because it has Clan ER mediums, 4 of them, with a targeting computer, and 2 Clan LRM-15s with Artemis 5. And I was like, oof, this feels dirty. But then I realized it's just a Mad Cat, with an extra leg.
With an extra leg.
Is that an extra leg? You just happy to see me? The answer is yes for this game. So I just Alpha Strike. I hit his arms, and I essentially, for your Shadow, or you for your Spider critting out everything, I crit out both of his arms. One has nothing left in it. The other one has shoulder and stuff, and it's okay, you're just right torso, left torso now. At least that's what I thought. But he kept jumping around with a broken shoulder. He still hit every ER large laser shot that he took, and I was like, come on, man. I've already broken your arm. Don't make me finish the job.
It's a lot of damage. It's 10 damage a pop.
Yeah, that's always in short range. But the Hammerhead had kind of like got in the started brawling, started running interference. So the Piranha and the Timberwolf start dueling. They're like point blank, and they're like, I'm just, at that point, I'm kind of throwing the Piranha away, but I felt like it was thematic. We shoot each other. He misses everything except like one laser, which was hilarious. He then kicks me, takes the leg off. I was like, okay, that's fine. It's not the worst. But he had shot the other leg, and that only had one structure left. I fall down, and I'm like, well, worst case, I'm, 12 machine guns that prop me up next turn. No, I fall on that one leg and do, 2 damage to it because I'm 20 points.
Yep. Crunch.
And I was like, great, I have no legs for my Piranha. I was like, but it's easy because now he's out of the game. Now it's a, 2-on-3.
What were those elementals doing this whole time?
Those elementals were under the Hammerhead, just constantly trying to leg attack it.
Nice.
Leg attack. They like broke its foot, and I was like, oh no, my AES hardened armor.
Well, yeah, but doesn't the hardened armor interfere with critical chances?
Yes, but I didn't play it with that way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I'm not that smart.
Yeah, the hardened armor should have made it super tough. Like swarming would be the. Yeah, I don't know how I would have played elementals against a Hammerhead. That Hammerhead is a good design.
Yeah, no, I'm like,
I think I would have had the elementals going after the Triskelion.
The Triskelion and the Mad Cat started dueling. Those two units blew each other apart. The Mad Cat, by the end of it, had both of its legs. It had no internal structure, or it had no armor anywhere except like its legs, broken an entire torso off. And the other one had broken the arm off and just had like a few pips left in the other right torso. And I was like, Triskelions lost both arms and an entire left torso. So all it has is an LRM-15. I was like, any sane pilot would have abandoned the fight by now, but that's not fun because you know. So the Hammerhead went for the double punch because he was so slow he couldn't run away, and I took out the other the center torso's engine to get the 3 engine kills.
Yep.
And I was like, I could have kicked, but no, I got 2 battle fists and I'm going to use them. So it was great because this was probably the game I had the most crits with, like ever. Like broken arms, everything internal on an arm broken. Right torso's launchers are dead, engine hits, gyro hits. It was everything. And I had broken feet, engine kills. Like, it was just insane the amount of crits we were getting. That was a great game. For the last shot, I put the Triskelion's lone remaining LRM-15 into the Grendel to kill it. I was like, man, these mechs did not want to die. But that was a great game. But then we all did like our 4-way Alpha Strike game that you kind of had to leave for.
Right. I had to leave, so I helped set up, and I got everyone teamed up, and I was there for almost half of it, but I have no idea how it ended.
It ended badly, but you know what? We kind of figured that. I mean, ragtag and intro tech intersphere looking lances versus 2 clan stars.
You had it was 3 lances versus 2 stars.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when I left, most of the clan mechs were up on a bridge on the center point, but they were surrounded, and they had a lot of shots coming into their rear, and what I believe was a Mackie coming up through the trees on the right flank, and then I left, so I have no idea how that charge worked.
So I brought my Hegemony Armed Forces and just gave them all skill 2 because they're so cheap. Mental note, it's not that great when you're playing single attack roll because you still need to be lucky. I was fighting off another player's Sea Foxes he had there. I had pretty much taken out his Kingfisher, then almost taken out his Stormcrow, and that's kind of how it felt. Like, okay, I'm only throwing 3 or 4 damage out, so if I hit, I'm not as killing as much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I was multiple attack roll, it probably would have done better. But you got Jason Hansa with a Jingao under the bridge in water, overheating for 7 damage, and we're just accepting it because we're obvious like this is his cannon mech. Of course, it's doing 7 damage. And he's like, "Oh, overheat for everything." I was like, "How much does it overheat for?" Because you've done that like the last couple of turns, and he's like, "It overheats for 3," and I was like, "Okay, but you're overheating max 2 turns in a row. I mean, you're in water. You're only sinking 1." He's like, "Only sinking 1? No water." And I was like, Jason, no.
He had I heard him ask at the beginning how water works, and someone just said it sinks heat, and there was no specification of a number, so I can kind of understand that.
Oh no, I understand. I blame everyone else at the table.
I blame everyone else at the table. That is
because I'm the one who caught it, so I can't blame me.
No, that is definitely going to be a soundbite of Josh. I blame everyone else at the table. Yes, I love it.
When you've got a Jingao shooting for 7 every turn, you're like, how is that possible?
Well, I mean, it's a scary mech. I would kind of believe it.
Why don't I have like 5 of these? But yeah, so once he realized that, I was like, oh, okay, we got to roll some stuff back. But it didn't change much. But it took like an entire star to kill the Mackie in 1 turn. But I would expect
Mackie's a beast.
It's got 10 armor, 8 health, 8 structure. Yeah. So it's a lot of points, but it missed. Even at skill 2, it was missing medium range shots. And I was like, come on,
when you've got a skill 2, you really want it, because then you're playing numbers. So you want the more rolls. The more rolls, the better if you've got a skill 2.
Yeah.
This was it's a balancing force.
I was like, I'm not wanting to take like 20 mechs, even if I'm Intersphere. So I'm just doing this. And it was still fun. Like I said, Jason took the bridge with his like Clint and Jingao and just held it there. And at the end of the day, they were pretty much dead, but held the field.
Nice. Yeah. As long as fun was had, it works.
Yeah. So it was great to have Michael and Jason come out and get to play them for a day.
Yeah, that was super cool. I mean, that was a lot of fun. We had a great lunch with them. It was just a good time.
And of course, in store news, Fortress Miniatures and Games has the new Kellhounds Archer, Wolf's Dragoons Jamie Wolf Archer, and Death's Commandos Urban Mech plushies, which I know Denham, of course, loves. They also have a big price drop on all of their Strato Minis line, so all of their mechs, vehicles, and terrain have gotten cheaper. The Mars Colony 36-piece set has actually dropped to $35, which is a bargain. Want to take a quick break, and then we get into the mercs. What are they good for?
Let's do it.
Star Colonel Catherine, how do I grow up big and strong like you?
Well, Rystar, you must fight well and be honorable in your Sipco. But most importantly, you must remember to eat all of your Korinskios. They are packed full of protein and power in every bite to make sure that you grow up to be the best warrior.
I want to be the best, just like the Great Father when I grow up and get my blood name.
Indeed, Korinskios. They are clantastic!
Warning, the following content contains math, and lots of it. 2D free C-bill spending, and tables upon tables. Listener discretion is advised.
All right. Mercenaries. Love them, hate them. But what are they actually good for? They're the ragtag heroes, the opportunistic villains, and the one-size-fits-all for any aspiring writer for BattleTech.
I mean, they really are like the lifeblood of the BattleTech universe.
Whether we like it or not.
Yeah, yes.
So real talk, we all know mercenaries from like the lore or the games, like literally the video games. They are custom and nameless. Like if you're playing HBS BattleTech or MechWarrior 5, they're kind of whatever you want to name them. You've got the literal hundreds of protagonists and antagonists of all the lore and the games where they are a named character, like Crescent Hawks. Like some of us were around for that, right?
A lot of us were. A lot of us.
And then we have ones like the Wolf's Dragoons, which I'm going to go with their fan fiction that came to life.
I have my own thoughts about the Wolf's Dragoons and them as a mercenary unit, but we can get to that in a little bit if you want.
Okay. So what are your definitions for a mercenary company? Like when you hear BattleTech mercenary company, what are you thinking?
A mercenary unit, it's not always a company, but a mercenary unit is a group of fighters. I'm going to say Mechwarriors here, even though obviously not all of them have mechs, but all the ones that I play do. So they're a group of Mechwarriors who fight for a contract. Most of the time that's money. A lot of times that contract can change hands depending on where they are at the time or which contracts are available. But they're not necessarily indelibly tied to one employer, though some of the contracts may lead them to have land grants or things like that. But they're still a mercenary unit. They can still get a job for someone else. So they have that option. They are not tied indelibly to a specific faction or house.
Yeah. Yeah, I always go with the soldiers of fortune. They don't know where their next meal or job is going to be.
Yeah, but some famous mercenaries like have long-term contracts, so they definitely know where the next one is coming from, but they can't take that for granted.
At will employment, or
Yeah.
like that's what mercenaries are. They can be fired at any time.
Anytime.
Do you have any favorites, real quick?
I do, actually, real quick. I've got two favorites, and it is because of when I got into the BattleTech universe. The Grey Death is one of my absolute favorites because it was literally the first novels I ever read. It was my introduction to BattleTech. So everything I've ever done since then has been based on the knowledge I got from those books. Like, that was the start of it all. And then the other favorite of mine is on the opposite side. It's the video game lore. The Crescent Hawk's Inception was the first BattleTech RPG game I ever played on the computer. And the story, it just, my young teenage self just loved that. I became part of that story. And I always wanted to be part of the Crescent Hawks from that moment on. So Grey Death and Crescent Hawks, those are my two favorites.
That's good. I'm still working on finding my favorite mercenary company. There's just so many to pick from. It's literally a buffet.
Well, yeah, when you came into the game, there were literally hundreds, as you said. When I came into the game, there were fives, maybe dozens. There weren't that many to choose from. And I think a lot of people my age will have a certain love for those two because it was at the beginning of it all. So it's just, it's the first face we saw.
That's true. So how do we like to reflect and play mercenaries on the tabletop? Because you can't really like, hey, I'm going to put $5 on this game. If I beat you, can I have it? Or if I beat you, can I have a sandwich?
The mercenary, for me anyway, the mercenaries was the introduction to a larger, a deeper play. So it's more than just here is my army. This is my fifth sword of light. I know exactly what's in the fifth sword of light. There's a book that tells me what's in there. These are the mechs in that lance. I'm going to fight with this army, and here's my source book, etc. It's like the first introduction of customization and role playing, where you get to design something that's your own and play with it, and the wins and losses actually matter to you. And you can use it in a campaign, you can use it for pickup games, but it's yours and you created it, and its stories are your stories. And I think that's the big pull to creating a mercenary unit.
So if you're wanting to take like the historical route, what's a good way? Like, I know that previously there was the Mercenaries Handbook, but that's like literally 1987, and that goes into like Eridani Light Horse, Waco's Rangers, and Wilson's Hussars, and that's history, unit description, personalities, and their literal roster, and all the things that come with those companies. And then you have the Mercenaries Handbook 3055 with Wolf's Dragoons, and that's kind of where that starts. Are there any other resources for like finding exact units. For,
Well,
like,
right,
the big
a lot
names.
of right. You've got the Mercenaries handbooks, which is a great place to start if you can find an old PDF or an old copy of that. Just because it has a lot of information on how mercenary units are treated. It has sample contracts, which are great, and it has some information on some of those. But a lot of the really famous ones have their own source books. So you've got a Grey Death source book, you've got a Wolf's Dragoon's source book, you've got a Widowmaker's source book. Again, those are old publications. You might have to, go look for a digital only copy on Drive-Thru RPG. They've got a lot of those.
The problem
But
is they also only have 12 mechs to pick from for the entire mercenary force.
That's just it. If you're doing a historical mercenary unit, it's no different than doing a house unit, because you know exactly who these pilots are. You know exactly what mechs they piloted during what eras, like the Fox's Teeth or Sorensen Sabers. Like you can pick them through different eras and say these pilots had these mechs during these times, and you can play as those mercenary units and do a bunch of what ifs. But that's not as much fun as creating one in my mind. But a lot of people are very tied to their mercenary units, and so they want to do, they want to be part of that, and that's cool. I have no problems with that. But there's less customization, but more surety, more you know what forces you have available to you, and so it takes a lot of the decision making out of your hands.
It feels very legal. I mean, BattleTech at its core is a historical war game, kind of.
It is. It really is. So that way you can be like, well, these would have actually met on this planet during this fight. They could have met there. So this is the battle that could have been, and let's think about what ramifications this win or loss could have had.
You can kind of supplement that. I would say you could modernize, because a lot of that is old resources. And yes, the entire Light Company had Stingers, Wasp, and Locust, but now we know they had more options available. So
right. I mean, so like I said, you can look at different eras and things. Sorensen Sabers, I have a list from like 3025, and then I have it around the 3040s, and then I have it for like the 3060s. But that's it. Anything beyond that, I don't really have. So if you're part of that, it wouldn't be the original people. It would be their children or the new hires. So you're still going to have to come up with, with some backstory to go with that, even if you're part of this highly esteemed unit.
If we're not doing that, we're cracking open one of our favorite books, good old Campaign Operations, right, Denham?
It honestly, for reals, is one of my very favorite books.
I know it is. Gratuitous tables, check. Way too much information, check. Cool archer in a snowscape about to kill, infantry on the cover, check.
And so many tables, so many forms that you can fill out. It's awesome. I know you can print these out, but I printed them out as a PDF and made them form fillable, so it just makes it way faster, and it looks so much nicer when I print them out that way.
All right. So we're going to go through the steps for actually using Campaign Operations to build a custom mercenary company. And
correct. Now, building a mercenary company in Campaign Operations is buried really, really far in the very first section of the book. They want you to do this. You open up the book, you get past the table of contents, and it says, let's build a force of your very own.
And what I thought this was cool was that you can use this to kind of like, I'm building Aerodani Light Horse mercenaries that are known, and I'm using it to like fill in for a year that there's no information for them. Like I'm using my best guesses and stuff, how the books would want me to do it.
Exactly. Yeah, it lets you go, like most things, it lets you go as deep as you want, or you can skim through there and just get the bits you want, or you can get really, really deep. It's fun.
Sir, this is Campaign Operations. This is extra deep.
Yeah. So let's build one.
Yeah. So let's go through the steps real quick. So first you have to define your force, and that is where you would pick, either a house unit or a mercenary company or something else.
Right. There's a lot of different choices they have in the book, but we're talking about mercenaries, so we're going to skip that and say that one's already been decided. We're doing a mercenary unit.
All right, so we've picked, we're going to do mercenary force out of our 3 options: government, mercenary, or pirate. No, it's such a hard one. It doesn't really say this here, but we're going to do the name now. So what do we want? We want the Mech Bay's Mercenaries.
Mech Bay Mercenaries.
The most vanilla name we could draw out of a hat. Mech Bay Mercenaries. And you know what? I'm going to say we have Excel open for this. So you're going to hear that good old clicky clack of the keyboard. Yeah. Because we're going to have to type this up because you need Excel or some spreadsheet or calculator for all this. You need technology.
You do. Yeah, this is not a, I'll just fill this out in 5 minutes. It's a process.
It's a process, all right.
I think the only thing that I did in BattleTech that took longer than creating my own mercenary unit was creating my own character using the time of war, the whole process that they have with the life, the life choices.
One day,
yeah. When we've got 1 weekend, it's 1 weekend.
Yeah. All right. You have your select force background. Now, your force background, this is essentially your general faction and your era, because not all factions are in all eras, and not all eras are created equally either.
That is correct. There are modifiers for all of these as we go along. So it's important to know when you're going to be playing with these forces as much as what those forces are.
All right. So what era do we want to run our Mech Bay Mercenary Company in?
I mean, my original thought was Age of War, but I'm like, no, it's going to be Ilclan for sure.
Okay. So we're going to do Ilclan. Unfortunately, Campaign Ops has, we have to do 3150.
Right. So it's technically Dark Age, but we're in the end of the Dark Age. We are coming out into the Ilclan era as a brand new mercenary force. So that's what we're doing.
There you go. I like that.
We could even put down that we were founded in 3151, so we're not technically in the Dark Age.
Oh. We were the light. We were the first one. Like, we submitted the paperwork in 3150, didn't get approved till 3151. How about that?
There you go. I like it.
All right.
Yep. We don't have to roll or anything on that. Now comes the fun part.
Yeah. So we have to select force size, and force size, I wouldn't use that term. That's what they put. But really what it is we all can't inherit a fortune from our cousin who's actually married to like the Archon of some superpower, and they die and just literally give us way too much money that we could never spend anything on.
Are you saying that our name should now be the Mech Bay Hounds?
No.
No, but I do like how in the book, though, when it says select force size, the first step is determining your basic budget. Like, you have to do that, and they give you 2 ways. They say roll 3d6 and look on this table, or choose whatever you want. Like, it's very specific that you can either make this sucker and have a whole big backstory because of what you rolled, or if you have a backstory already in your head and it's okay with everyone you're playing with, just pick whatever fits.
But you know how we're going to do it right now.
Oh, we're rolling that D3, that 3d6.
I was like, D3. No, there's 3 dice.
3d6. We're rolling that 3d6.
All right, give me those dice rolls. I want to hear these on air.
All right, here we go. We got a 6, a 4, and a 2, so that is 12.
12. Isn't that like smack average? A little above average? I'm a little rusty on my probability on 3 dice.
Well, it's 120 million C-bills is what it is.
120 million. Ooh,
so
boy.
we're looking at I would estimate a mixed company of decent tech.
We're above average. I'll accept that. Unfortunately, not all C-bills are not all faction C-bills are created equally. And
that is true.
And here's where you have to quote the modified budget.
So you've got your budget of 120 million C-bills, and then step 2 is modifying that. You've got the era modification and you've got the faction modification. So there's 2 separate modifiers.
All right, so we already said we're going to do Il Clan era, which is quote-unquote Dark Age. So guess what? That's a fun multiplayer of 1.0.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. Let me do the math on that.
Oh, man, it's the same. I did think this chart was funny because, like, you could literally see money's not worth as much pre-Age of War, and then it gets, worth a lot. And then once you have the Star League, it's like, yeah, money's worth so much now. Everyone's got money. More money than they know what to do with. Then it's, Succession's Wars literally just eating everyone's pocketbooks.
Ooh, and then Clan, of course, adds multipliers all on its own.
All its own, because
All right, so we got a one modifier for Il Clan.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. How about the faction? We starting off as any faction, or are we starting off as independent?
All right, so for our faction type, let's do Independent Mercenary Force. Woo! What's that fun, wild multiplier, Mr. Denham?
So boring. We got another ×1.
Yeah.
So we're still at 120 million C-bills. It's a lot of money. But
there are worse things.
Yeah.
And now we have the faction modifier because, like all of that, we have to modify again. Are we wealthy or poor?
Oh, man. Come on. The Mech Bay? We are so poor. But we pretend like we're rich.
That's true. All right. So there's our first negative modifier at a balmy 0.8.
0.8. Let's calculate some numbers.
All right. What is our basic budget times poor? Oh, man. We've got 96 million C-bills. If we look in our chart, that's literally just rolling, a 10.5 rather than a 12. So
yep.
It hasn't completely killed the coffers yet.
Not yet. Just wait till we start hiring techs. That's where it's gonna fall apart.
So now, my uncle just died and gave me 96 million C-bills. What do I do now?
Okay, I only got a little ahead because stage 3 is procure equipment and hire personnel. So we're gonna buy all the stuff. Mm-hmm. What do we want?
Yeah, because you get to spend all that moolah on whatever we want. Mechs, vehicles, battle armor, fighters, support vehicles.
We say we can do it, whatever we want. However, again, they have two things. One of them is buy whatever you want, or the other one is pick a unit and roll to see if you actually get to buy it. But for this one, I think we're just going to buy whatever we want.
All right, so what do we want to buy? Like, this is the all ShadowHawks and Black Knight mercenary company?
I don't think so. Like, I think we're going to have to go crazy and do, like, we'll have a crab. But Steve's not going to pilot it. We have to make someone else.
All right, so let's buy Cataphract 40's Nightstar. All right, so we go down to the table, and that is a assault battle mech. Oh, man. Rich guy over there.
Well, we can go several ways. We can get very specific and look up the price of it in the Mega Mech, or we can just use this availability and cost for a generic assault battle mech and then name it whatever we want. For brevity's sake, let's do that.
All right, so a quote unquote assault battle mech is 12 million C-bills.
Yep.
I don't want to say, like, I'm already feeling the hint. Like that was like more than 10% of our funds just on Cataphract's assault mech.
Now, on this stage, though, we are not allowed to go into debt while building the force. We're not allowed to. So we buy things until we're out of money, and then we're done. But don't forget, the equipment is only half of it.
Right.
Also, transports are not included in this step. We do not have to buy transports. We kind of don't buy transports. We more like rent them. They'll get into that in the next step.
Oh, doing, Chad Evans and Hatchetman.
Let's do that one. Nice medium mech. We'll do 6 million for that.
Oh, man.
Is this going to be a 4 mech mercenary company?
It feels like it, just because we're already running solo.
But I know that Steve Maisel drives a crab, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's throw a crab in there. That's another medium mech.
All right. Then we've got...
Do we have any heavies or lights?
We got Rex Rawhide and an Orion, and
let's
Danny
do that.
Cryo and a Flashman.
Fantastic.
All right, so that's 2 heavies. Heavies cost a lot. They cost 9 million. That's 18 million.
How much money we had left?
Oh, Lord. Bam, 36 million. Okay, so it's not the worst. So we got Jesty in a Hammerhead. So that's a clan heavy. Oh no, our first
that's gonna change some things.
Yeah.
Does that have an XL?
Oh yeah, it does.
All right, so it's an XL, so that's a times 2.5, and it's a clan equipment for a non-clan force is another times 4. That Hammerhead's going to be expensive. Hammerhead is a heavy mech?
Yeah.
All right.
Medium, 45 tons. Yeah.
Okay, good. 6 million.
That's not
times.
Oh, God.
Times 2.5 times 4 equals 6. That's it. That's our last mech.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Oh my God. Sorry, Jesty.
Yeah.
We can't buy your Hammerhead.
Yeah, maybe next time we got to win a few missions and then get it out of the impound lot.
Okay, so that was 60 million. Now I need to look up what the actual cost for a Hammerhead is.
Oh yeah, it's a good question.
Because that's the purchase for campaign ops. Money wise, it's a balmy 8 million C-bills.
Huh. Right, but we are an Intersphere mercenary unit, and trying to capture clan equipment is expensive. So that money isn't just the cost of the mech; it's the cost of tracking one down, dealing with the Skyfox exchange rates. Jumping into different systems is all the money that you've spent trying to acquire it.
All right, so we've
repair
got
costs for your repair costs for the bid to obtain that mech.
All right, so sorry, Jesty. We got a Mitch Minotaur in a Thunderbolt.
Thunderbolt's 65 ton. That's a heavy, so we'll subtract 9 million from here.
Yeah. And then we got Harris Ramshackle in a Cataphract. So
Cataphract is also heavy.
And then we got Mage in a 12th Vegan Rager in a Nightstar, so another Assault.
All right.
Now, I would do Metal Zarek in a Blackhawk Age, but we already know the cost of that. And it's 60 million, and I'm not paying that right now.
Yeah. Well, what are you going to pilot in this? Because we're at 7 mechs
now,
right?
I'm the managing. I'm not piloting.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll throw myself in there.
All right, you're in a ShadowHawk.
I am. I'm in a medium ShadowHawk mech. I'm in a crappy one, so it's going to be nice and cheap.
You know what? Just so we can prove that the math's not super insane, what's a non-XL clan light?
A non-XL... I don't think there are any clan mechs that are light that don't have XL
Would
engines.
A 2C? Yeah. So, okay. So let's give me the baboon, because that does not have an XL engine in it. It's still clan. So let's see what the price of the cheapest clan is for us.
I don't think we can afford that, because we got 6 million left, and that's going to be almost 8 million.
Oh my God! Fine, I'm in a scout. I'm surveying the battlefield.
All right. So we are down to 3 million in our coffers right now, after we've got 2 lances.
You know what? I'm happy with that. Yeah. I'm happy. Total funds remaining 3 million. That's not that bad.
No. Hey, look, there is a level, a spot for exotic units like LAM, super heavies, etc., and that starts at 50 million.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Now, I will say the thing we didn't do for this is we didn't do the availability rolls, which...
Correct. We could have done that, but since we already have these people on our roster and they brought their own mechs, we just have those mechs. Also, it does indicate that just because we are putting these mechs into our unit, it does not imply ownership, which means that the pilots themselves may or may not own it. It's just what is in your force and who the pilot is. So the company itself could own them, the pilots themselves could own them, but it's all going down on paper as this is the cost of the mech, because you have to know how much your company is worth.
It's for the insurance company and taxes. Alrighty. But I do like the availability rolls. I would probably do a lot of that personally, just because that's where it's harder to roll for things like clan and experienced pilots and rarity of units. I think that's really cool to add a roll. Can I get this? And it's nope, you got to get something worse.
Well, you know what? Let's do that in step 2, acquire large spacecraft.
Okay.
So if we want a dropship, let's try and roll for one. We'll go
we
with
definitely
that.
want a dropship. Because,
So we need...
hold on. Because unlike what PGI wants us to believe, not every mercenary company uses a Leopard.
I know. If I had a Leopard that could hold 50-something mechs, I would definitely take that one. But yeah, we need a dropship, and we need one that holds at least 8, preferably 12, because we want room for expansion and salvage.
I like that. We're planning ahead. All right.
And
so
when we get really rich, we can buy that space station that Dustin's always wanted.
we're the mercenaries in space.
Yeah.
All right. So for acquiring a large spacecraft, it's 2d6. Let's give those clicky clacks a roll.
Well, first of all, we got to figure out which one are we going to go for, because we have to pick. So we just want to try our hand at the most common one, like the regular Union class.
Oh, that's a tough call. I'd have to look up Overlord. Do we want to try for the Overlord?
Overlord's huge, though.
Do we want? See, this is
let's try.
This is where I would
try.
Okay, we'll try.
I don't have the cost for an Overlord.
I gotcha. 321 million C-bills for an
3,
Overlord
2, 1.
2070-62.
All right, so we take that number and we divide it by 50 million. There's a lot of math here. That equals 6.42. So we round that up to the nearest whole number.
So 7.
Which is 7, and then we add 5 to that.
All right, so what's that?
12. I need
12.
to roll 12.
Okay, I have faith in you. It's low.
If you put them next to each other, it's a 15. It's a 1 and a 5, so it's 6.
Lord. All right. So where do we go from there? Do we have to?
We pick a different dropship. We can pick any different dropship. We could pick another Overlord, but a different type, so it has to be a different variant, and then it's another 12. Now, we don't have to pay for this. It just gives it to us, but we have to pay for its upkeep later. Our monthly bills are going to be crazy high.
Why am I looking this up?
Well, it's a rabbit hole. Like when you start doing this for fun, it gets crazy. All right, I'm rolling for the Union.
Okay.
Oh my good, yeah, yep. I got a 9. What did I need here? 6, 7, 8. I needed a 10. Oh, here we go. Okay, that was the one Union. That was the 2708 one. There we go. I rolled an 11 on the next one down, so that's the one that came out in 3055. Oh, we got an upgrade.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
We got a 3055 Union. I rolled an 11 for that. And yeah, that's got Artemis and Gauss rifles and LRMs.
Until we
That's
sell
nice.
that to, pay for the everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a 3055 slightly upgraded Union.
Whoa.
I mean,
hold on.
for 3151, it's ancient. All right, it's ancient.
But I have to stop and say, ooh, the 3055 upgrade for luxurious double and single occupancy berths and an improved air filtration unit. At that, armor reduced, ERPBCs, Artemis 4, air filtration. That's what you really want. Okay, so we have a jump ship.
Yeah, someplace for the trapezoid to hide and all the butter.
All the butter. That's cargo, sir. That's cargo.
Yeah, I know, cargo. Just shove it all in there.
All right, so we have a ride, and we didn't get a Leopard because we're cooler than that.
Because we'd have to leave mechs at home. We don't want to do that.
This is where we would start assigning special abilities because, it's faction flavor time, and you would assign special pilot abilities, special, lance abilities. And that's kind of goes with the regular things that we've already talked about, but they don't really have a cost. They're more just assigning one per force, like normal. So
right.
we're kind of going to skip that because we're talking about money for this episode. So how many leftover funds do we have? 3 million?
3 million.
All right. What do you do with leftover funds? Because it actually says what to do.
We were supposed to assign like what type of pilots are our pilots? Are they regular, elite?
They're all regular.
Okay,
yeah.
then we're fine.
Nobody's
so
getting a promotion in my company.
Right. So we got 3 million left over to hold us over in the middle of contracts.
I'd say that's kind of needed. Once you're done with all that, you added all that to the spreadsheet. Then step 5, determine support personnel and officers. Because every merc company needs a Starbucks and a staff sergeant.
Yes, 100%.
I like how it specifies each mech has a single technician and 6 Aztecs. So,
right, and we've got 8 mechs, so we need 8 techs and a bunch of math for how many Aztecs.
How late is it and how intoxicated are we?
No, it's 48. We all know that. So 8 techs, 48 Aztecs, and that's just to support the mechs.
Yeah.
If we have less, it's really going to cause problems. And it tells you the problems that you will have keeping your mechs in repair if you do not have the proper number of techs and Aztecs. Because if you're running a mercenary unit, you are expected to keep track of all the damage and then roll to see how easily your mech got repaired. And if you do bad on the roll, that arm actuator may be broken and you just have to replace the arm, and it gets bad.
Real bad.
Yep. So obviously these are all going to be green techs and Aztecs because, we just don't care around here, and they're cheaper. They're way cheaper.
Would the dropship have its own crew that we have to pay for here, or?
It does have its own crew.
Large support vehicles and large spacecraft do not require separate technical support. Everyone loves to hear that, right?
Right. But they do have to have like a commander and a pilot and stuff. But it's all labeled in the technical readouts. You can find how many crew your dropship has.
Oh my God, is that why every dropship and vehicle has number of crew?
Yes, right here.
We figured it out, everyone. We figured it out, BattleTech.
You got to pay these people.
Yeah. So that's just the technical personnel. Then we need administrative personnel because everyone needs a secretary to get the coffee for the Starbucks for the staff sergeant. So that's literally one person per mech.
Yep. There's one technical person per mech. And that's not like anyone repairing the mech. That's just administrative paperwork. That's the guy who does the paperwork.
I mean, if you have to keep records on your battle mechs, keep up with the warranties, what's out of order, what needs to. These are the gophers that go get the parts. That actually makes a lot of sense because this one guy knows ShadowHawks, and you're going to assign him to the ShadowHawk, and someone's like, arm actuator's out. He's going to a ShadowHawk supply store.
Yeah, he's got to get that. Yep, and he'd be the one who can get that.
We essentially have 2 lances, so we have 2 officers.
So we need 2 officers for sure.
Okay. Clickety clack.
They are the lance leaders, the lance commanders.
That's a lot of people so far. That's more people but also less than I thought because we didn't get any
now. No additional officers for large spacecraft, but you do include the officers, the ones that are listed in the technical readout.
Okay.
Now, once the officers are identified and marked on the unit sheet with an O, note their salary is increased per the salary table, page 25.
I was just getting there because now we have you've assembled the mercenary company, but now you must determine operating expenses.
Oh, stage 4, the worst stage.
Operating expenses, also known as taxes, keeping the lights on.
And not just that. I mean, ammo cost. You have training and things. So you are expected to have wartime expenses and peacetime expenses, because when you're sitting around between contracts, you're not just chilling. You're doing training exercises. You're doing all that stuff that keeps you in fighting shape. So it costs you money for ammunition and fuel every month, and repairs every month.
I always think this is the craziest part. It's like you have to pay for fuel if your thing doesn't have a fusion engine.
Dropships are incredibly expensive for upkeep, but they do put in a clause in there saying that if you are on a world that has ample water, so an Earth-like world that you have lots of access to water, you can create your own hydrogen fuel for free. So that cuts down your monthly costs for a dropship by something like 400,000 C-bills a month, I think. It might be more than that even.
Dropship's expensive, fuel's free.
But yeah, page 25. We got to pay our guys. Mechwarriors get 1,500, we're going to call them C-bills, I guess. Depends. Yeah. We got to do conversion rates if you're different things. That green would get a 0.6 modifier. Veteran gets a raise. Elites get a huge raise. And then if they're officers, they get even more.
Why is everyone so expensive?
I know. That's right. No promotions.
Not in this house. All right, so with 8 Mechwarriors, 2 of those being officers, 8 techs, 48 Aztecs, 8 admin staff, our monthly operating salary is 41,600 C-bills.
All right, and that's just the salaries. So that
Just
is not
salary.
the fuel costs. That is not the spare parts. That is not the ammo cost expenditures. This is where those energy mechs are really, really nice because they get no fuel and no ammo costs.
Just repair and upkeep.
That's right. Just repair and upkeep.
And if you've got enough green and recruit and regular technicians, that's practically free, right? You're just paying
Yeah,
for it on the
practically.
battlefield when everything breaks.
But unfortunately, to find out the spare parts and ammo costs, we're going to have to go through every single mech and find and go through which weapons it has and do calculations on all of that. And I don't feel like doing that right
Neither
now.
do I.
Right. So let's just estimate it at 105,000
Okay.
for ammo. Spare parts, because I've done this for a company level type thing. So I'm basically just dividing it by 3. So the spare parts, we're going to estimate that also 100. Yeah.
So 100,000?
And then fuel costs. Are we on a planet that that has water? Because if not, it's going to be 400,000.
Let's go with yes, please, water.
Okay. So if we ever get stranded somewhere without water, our fuel supplies are going to go up by 400,000 C-bills
my
every
God.
month. All right. So add that ammo cost, the spare parts cost, and the salaries, and let me know what that is.
That's going to be a balmy 246,600 C-bills a month.
So we basically can operate for a year in between contracts right now with our 3 million.
That's actually better
That's
than
not
I
bad.
thought.
Yeah, that's not bad. We can survive for a year. So we have a year to get our next contract before we have to let everyone go and we fold.
I'm actually going to say maybe the BattleTech games aren't that off. You sell a mech and you're good for a year or 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Josh and Denham do the math. They find it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, salvage is important, and that's a big thing about your contracts because a lot of times when you do mercenaries, your salvage rights are horrible. Like you don't get any battlefield salvage, or you've got to struggle for that. You've got to get a good lawyer.
Wish I knew one.
I mean, we've got a lawyer, but you got to get a good lawyer to get.
That's the joke. But all right.
Yeah, it's you live or die by your contracts for sure.
Okay, so we made a mercenary force. We made the Mech Bay Mercenaries, and just with 8 mechs, we ran through all of our money. We paid for all our support staff. We rented the dropship, and we can survive a year from what's left over.
Mm-hmm. We need a job, man.
Yeah, right. Why the heck would you want to run a mercenary company? Looking at this,
because if you own the mercenary company, you can make a lot of money if your guys do really well.
True.
If you don't, it's probably because you like to travel or shoot people or you don't have any place else to go.
We've done this big thought exercise. What would be the best way to integrate this on the table? Just in more of a campaign setting, more of hey, this is something I'm doing and I'm just playing random games, and you could almost play with yourself and just play a random pickup games and kind of oh, if I win this.
I think it's more fun to use this in a light campaign setting, something where winning and losing, you have to keep track of it. For the campaign, Chaos campaign books are really, really good about that because they give you war chest points, which can be converted easily into ways to repair your mercenary unit. It ties into the campaign operations books 100%, especially since the campaign operations is another chapter in the campaign operations book.
Yes.
The Chaos campaign is it's fully integrated. So if you're playing a campaign over a planet, there are some PDFs specifically about certain planets, and a lot of them have campaign missions. And you could say, well, I am a mercenary company hired by this house with this contract for this mission, and you are a mercenary force hired by that house for this, these contracts. And then you just play for the planet. And there's going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser, or both of you will just run through all of your resources and go broke, and the planet never changes hands.
The classic Succession Wars method.
That's right. Yep. I'm looking at you, Misery.
Yeah, I actually like this, that a single person could like literally build their force using the mechs they have, like miniatures, assign them, pay for them, like, okay, keep track of technicians, the operating costs, and almost play it like their own little meta game outside of playing on the table.
Oh, it makes forced withdrawal like something that you don't have to keep track of. It's just like, oh man, I cannot afford to have that mech lose. So if it starts getting flanked, I'm just pulling it off the table. I'd rather lose this fight and still have the resources to win the war rather than push my Mechwarriors into oblivion. Taking this field but having nothing left for the next ones.
My brain just like put two neurons together, and it's like, I would love to use this with aces.
Oh, yeah. Aces would be great with this. Except aces right now is just Alpha Strike. You could still do that with Alpha Strike.
Yeah, technically.
Yeah.
I mean, you play the game, you play the battles in Alpha Strike mode, but you do all of the background in Classic.
Right. You just have to make the repairs like a lot more abstract, but it would absolutely work. 100%. You could do that.
No, I think that might be how I actually do that. Like when I start playing aces, I will probably roll up a mercenary company and roll through until they're, broke dead or found someone better.
Like, I think that this type of play is at the core of what BattleTech was designed for, really. So many books and source books indicate this sort of style of play. I think it is the developer and designer's preferred method.
We went through it, and there's a lot, but we didn't, like, struggle. Like, we weren't constantly like, what do I go? Like, which page do I reference? This is like, nope, it's step. Here's a sheet, right. Step.
And the campaign operations book even has examples. Like, it has 3 different people building it. So not just one example, but 3 different people that you get to read about at every single step. It goes through, well, this person did this, and therefore its number came out to be that. So it walks you through it. It holds your hand. It lets you do what you want to do.
Speaking of, there are some optional rules for, optional and additional flavor that...
It wouldn't be BattleTech if there weren't.
No, because BattleTech's all about, more tables and charts than what you really want. So I'm just going to talk about a few of these. There's the alternate start where instead of, rolling up how much money you have, you roll to see how far in debt you already are because,
I love that one too. I love it so much.
Space capitalism. Player character influences. That's more for like the RPGs and stuff where you already have like an influencer.
Right. Or that rich uncle who's got his thumb on like everything you do because without him, you wouldn't be able to pay your bills.
This one struck me, dependence, because,
yes.
That's like literally the whole point of why are we fighting on Misery? To buy time for the dependents to get out.
Right. Yes.
They put dependents, but I see hostages to be reading that.
So it's interesting that you've got all this because, a lot of times when we're adding complexity, we call it an MMO rule or a Megamech only rule. Megamech has a program called Mech HQ, which takes care of all of this for you. You plug in the numbers, it pays the salaries, it helps you roll for the repairs. It 100% lets you run your mercenary company from there. And the dependents are interesting because it goes through time and people grow up, people get older, people have relationships, people have kids. And if you're not paying attention to it, suddenly you look at your roster and you see that there's other people because people in your group have formed these relationships or suddenly died from a heart attack or things like that. It's all covered under there for as many buttons as you click, as deep as you want to go.
Yeah, this is where you can get lost in BattleTech without actually even playing it.
100%. The nice thing about Mech HQ is that when you do, because it will also generate contracts for you for your mercenary unit to play. So you can either start the mission and play against the AI and have a mission like that, and then it imports all of your stuff. so that you know like how many of your mechs were destroyed, what the repair costs are, etc. Or it gives you the option to play with your friend on the tabletop, and then it says, okay, when your game is done, just fill out this form, and it asks you, you know, how many mechs were crippled, how many mechs were destroyed, and you just input all that information, and it helps you do all the math. It's a wonderful program.
Speaking of, a new Mega Mech just got released, and we forgot
That's
that in the
true.
news.
That's true. It did. Version 0.49.13.
Yeah.
The server is already up for on the MechBay servers. So if you want to play with that one, 2347 port.
Cool. All right. Anything else you want to talk about making a mercenary company?
Oh man, it's fun. That's all. It's just fun.
Do it once.
Everyone should create one.
Do it once.
Yeah.
See what you like, what you don't like.
Yeah, and if you really like it, do it again.
This is where you would realize why taking infantry vehicles and, you know, cheap fusion engine energy mechs is superior.
Infantry are so cheap to replace. You can just throw so many at them, and you're like, oh, that's how much it costs to replace all that? Okay.
You know, you're spending more on the stamps to send letters home to, you know, grieving widows than on actual infantry.
Oh,
maybe too much.
Harsh, but true.
Okay. I was like, they're cheap. They're real cheap.
They're cheap.
But Denham, thanks for coming on to talk about making a mercenary company.
Yeah, no, it's fun. I've done it. You know, if anyone has any questions, let me know. I'm happy to answer them. I think everyone should make one just for fun, and I think you guys should play with them.
Yeah.
Just to see.
All right, Mechwarriors. Remember, if you can't get that sweet salvage contract to keep you afloat, you can at least get a sugar daddy house lord to let you into the company store.